everyone! In this video, I'll be showing you a rather simple brilliant move that Stockfish struggles to find at low depth. In this position, white is currently up a pawn. However, black has much more space and a better pawn structure, and white's king is put in a tough spot. Can you find the best move for black? I'll give you a few seconds, but feel free to pause the video if needed. So what did you find? At first glance, you might think rook to e2 is the best move, and this is not a bad move at all. Black is able to infiltrate on the second rank as the rook is protected by the pawn, and white is forced to sacrifice some material to avoid checkmate. In fact, at low level depth, Stockfish also believes that this is the best move. However, the best move is actually even more forcing. If you found rook h6, congratulations. At low level depth, Stockfish thinks this is a blunder. Therefore, to see what is actually the best move, I will be switching to a higher depth analysis of the same position. Once you give the engine more time to think, Stockfish realizes the power of rook h6 and categorizes it as a brilliancy. The idea behind rook to h6 is actually very simple. The idea is simply rook takes h4 and checkmate, and there is no way for white to prevent it. Obviously, black is hanging the rook on e8, and the best move for white is to take the free rook. However, black is able to simply move the king to h7, and white has no good moves even though white is up an entire rook. White can give one check with the queen on c2, but this just delays the inevitable, as black can play g6, blocking check. White can also give a spite check with rook to h8, which is actually the best move according to Stockfish, but this also just delays the inevitable. Now white has no good options here. But let's just see what happens if white plays something like queen d2 just to see the full checkmate threat. If white plays queen d2, black follows up by sacrificing the rook on h4. If white takes the rook with the pawn, black moves the queen to g2 and it is checkmate. Therefore, white has to move the king to g1. Black can sacrifice the rook again with rook h1. And after white captures the rook, black can move the queen to h3, with checkmate on g2 being inevitable. White can also try something like rook to g1 to prevent the checkmate threat on g2. However, black can simply capture the h4 pawn, and after g takes h4, black can capture h4 with the queen, which is checkmate.